Good morning, my name is Christina Camp with Little Sprouts Learning, and I'm coming to you from my garden um, that I grow with my preschoolers and toddlers. I have a day off today, and so I'm just contemplating, thinking about, after 30 years of providing childcare in my home, people ask me a lot how I'm so successful, or why I always have a waiting list, or how I'm able to always stay full in my childcare. And I believe that the main success indicator in childcare is relationships. Now, first of all, relationships with the kids, because that's what everything grows from. But also, it's just as important to have relationships with your parents, because if they don't trust you and they don't think that you have the best interest of their children in mind, you're not going to be successful, because that's where the word of mouth comes from. So people ask me a lot how I build relationships with people. I'm a very open person. I feel like I'm honest and forthcoming. I don't try to cover up procedures or things that I do. I'm not going to stuff a bunch of kids in my car and just buckle them into a seatbelt, rather than make sure they're in their car seats and then say, oops, I forgot, if I get caught. Like, I try to have integrity in everything I do, so that when people have the opportunity to see me from different angles, they're always finding the same answers, which is the truth. And I've seen people over time just not be totally honest. If you have a temperament, for me, for instance, I feel like 97.9% positive that I have autism. But in the 70s, when I was a child, autism wasn't diagnosed. They just said, she's a brat spanker, which didn't help. It took me until my 30s to learn a lot of self-control and repair from the childhood, discipline that I had. And so we have the opportunity now to take children with autism and give them tools to control themselves and learn emotional regulation that I didn't have the opportunity to have. But I want to give that to my kids, whether they have autism or not. So let's start with the parents. 100% honesty is important. Parents don't have the right to be nose into every part of your life, but the more you share with them, the more comfortable they are with you as a person. And I don't mean overshare. I mean, for instance, one of the things I do is I put activities on my Facebook page that I do with the kids, little anecdotes if we're having a bad day, something funny, not, anger or anything like that. So, I don't love having my kids on media, but my parents absolutely love it and beg for it, and it makes them happy. So I let them sign a waiver and I share away. They love to have grandparents and other people in the family be able to see what the kids are doing. And honestly, some people like to show off, like, look what my kids get to do. So it's just a big constant advertisement, which is good for your business. And it's also like encouraging a lot of older people that are my friends to say, I just love seeing your kids. Like, they don't have anything to do, and they love seeing something positive on their Facebook feed, or on the blog or whatever. So that's a way that I communicate. I do group texting where I tell all the parents, we have a visitor coming to work on the plumbing, or we have this party coming up, or this. I try to communicate with them as a group often. Some people hate group texting, but it doesn't, there's not a really easy way to text each person individually. So this keeps us more of a family. too, because we're as a group. You know, I group text my personal family too, so that we all have the same information about getting together or something going on in the family. So it works for my daycare family too. I try to tell people, and I'm honest with them at the interview, like loud noises hurt my ears. I do have these little just weirdness, and I try to let them know that, because if that intimidates them or they don't like it, they probably shouldn't start here. Which the kids learn that they can't just scream at the top of their lungs, that they have to be reasonable over time, because I just say, like, that hurts my ears, and I am able to stay calm and just say, like, that hurts my ears. And so they do learn that. The fact that my husband lives here, I had a parent one time say, like, I don't want your husband around my daughter. And I was like, well, he lives here, so maybe, But this is how I feel about it. I am intimidated by men being around children, too. My husband, when he's home, because he works odd hours, is usually busy doing something, because that's like his weekend time. So he's mowing the lawn, or studying for a class, or doing things that you would do on your time off. He's not like chasing around the children. He does help me with them if I need help, and he might like clean up our lunch or different things like that, but he's not in the bedroom with the kids, diapering them or helping them in the bathroom. I do that stuff, and when he's with them, we're both with them. And he does live here, so I can't say he can't come home when your daughter's here. And they were really appreciative of that, and I have multiple more of their children since then, girls and boys. So they just, like, the honesty disarmed their fears. And spending time and seeing, like, they may come to the Easter egg hunt and they see him interact with the kids. They see that he's not a creepy ogre, but you don't know that when you're new. And so they were surprised that he was here during the day, so I would just make sure. At that time, he was always off every other Wednesday, and he always was off in the morning on Mondays and in the evening time on Tuesdays and Fridays. Like, he would get off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so he'd be here for that last 2 hours. And so I just gave her the schedule and told her how I felt about it and what my beliefs were, and she was disarmed. But now I tell everybody, which he has his own business now, so it's very sporadic when he's here, so I can't give them that exact schedule, but I do say, he comes in and out on his breaks. He'll come home and eat or rest or even sweep the floor and wash dishes, whatever needs to be done. But again, he lives here, and if you don't feel comfortable with him, it's not going to work, because that's my husband. So I've never had anybody that got to know him think he was creepy, but he's always worried that anyone will think he is because of that. And, my personal experiences, I am leery of men, so he feels that in me too. I don't have a single worry about him at all. Like, I don't think he would ever do anything to one of my kids, but I want to give the image that I am protective of the kids, because I am. And, like, even somebody coming to the door to say, do you need lawn mowing services? And I'm like, I'll drop kick you to the curb. Like, I'm really protective of my kids, and I want people to understand that, because it's necessary in this world. But it's also comforting to parents to know that you feel that way too. So, for instance, it's storming. Oklahoma gets a lot of storms. So I get a notice on my phone that there's thunderstorms in the area. I turn on the TV, start watching Trav on the news. And immediately text my parents. I know that there's storms in the area, and I'm watching closely, and we have our spot ready to go in the bathroom. Our innermost room is a bathroom, no windows. So when we have a storm come really close, we get into the bathtub. All the kids take their pillows, and then I bring the couch cushions in there. If a tornado were to come, I would throw them on top of the kids in the tub and get on top of it. I mean, not right on top of the kids, but get on top of the cushions to hold it down on over to the side. And they all know that's my plan. They all know that I'm watching. If I don't group text them, someone will group text me and say there's storms, and then I immediately go and look. But usually my phone has gone off, or my mom's called before then to say, I got to notice that there's storms in your area. But I do have alerts set up too. But you can never be too careful, and you can never communicate enough how much you care about those types of things. People are very comforted by that. When you're away from your child, it's scary. Like, if your kid's at school and that happens, you're afraid. Like, you want them to be with you. And we all know that we should not be in a car traveling to childcare in a tornado. We should be in our own hidey place and trusting the person that has our child. So if you communicate, people have the opportunity to do that. It's just communication. It needs to be beyond, I need diapers, and your child scribbled on the wall with a Sharpie. There needs to be more than that. If you have a child with a lot of negative behaviors, you have to really work at finding the positive behaviors to highlight for that person too. Because there is good in everybody, and a parent doesn't constantly want to hear that their child is a total monster. And they're not. Everybody has good and bad inside, even the worst of the worst kid. So communicating to your parents all the time in every avenue that you can. If you're uncomfortable with Facebook, I totally get that. You could make a private Facebook group just for your parents, or you could, and then allow maybe grandparents to get in there and then take their membership away when they leave. You could use software like the Bright Wheel that has an opportunity to put up pictures and stuff. If you don't feel comfortable with anything that's reachable to the outside world, what about group texting pictures each day of some activity? We do 50 things every day, and I try to highlight at least one. Sometimes I'll do 2 or 3, but I'll just try to maybe do like the most interesting thing we did, or the thing that I found the most joy in. If it's just building with blocks, and we build with blocks every day, but this particular day the kids were really good in their cooperation, I might share pictures of them building with blocks and talk about how they've learned to get along so well and to communicate so well with one another. And this is from lots of free play. I really believe in free play. I believe play is a child's work, and it's how they learn the most. Any emotional regulation that they're going to get is going to be from interacting with one another and building social skills for the most part. And it's important, but I know that people think play is a waste, and so it has to be balanced between showing the benefits of play and showing organized activities that we do. I'm 5-star on the Oklahoma quality rating scale, and so they don't allow for a lot of free play if you're going to be 5-star, which is so counterintuitive to what I think is quality, but that's the government for you. Like, the whole system's ridiculous, but you have to have a lot of teacher-directed active activities, teacher-directed quiet activities, teacher-directed. So I do the minimum of what's required to be 5-star, and the rest of our time is involved in cultivating free play so that children can learn all the things they need to succeed in life, which comes from exploring, learning, being curious, being able to use toys in different ways and create their own type of fun. All the things. And so when I do highlight play, I try to highlight also the value of play, because there's so much there that people, for the most part, don't seem to understand. I was recently in a group of people where they were talking about, a mother was talking about her needs for childcare, and you can't find anything for the summer. Her child is school age, and we have a big problem in our community with that. And she was saying she couldn't find anything, and that the last place that her child attended was $1,000 a month, and everybody was just like, $1,000 for what? To play all day and do nothing? And it just broke my heart. Not that I know that child care is expensive. I also know that it's very expensive to provide child care. And people think that daycare people are rich, and they're not. Because, like, even if I bring in $50,000, I'm spending $9,000 on food. That's just one expense. Think about the toilet paper, the paper towels, the cleaning supplies, the art supplies, the special things for special days, the curriculum, the like technology, like printers, computers, paper, ink. It's expensive, and kids break toys every single day, so you're always having to buy toys, and stuff wears out. You have to get new high chairs or bibs or wash rags or just whatever. It's a constant expense. You understand that children are expensive to raise, but you don't understand so much that a lot of that expense goes to the child care when they're in care. I mean, the parents aren't making, you could have them bring lunch, but in my daycare, the parents aren't bringing breakfast, lunch, and snack. They're not providing art supplies. They're not, that's all provided by me and part of the expense. So I end up with very little profit, but people that don't do child care, A, don't realize how much work it is, and B, they don't realize how expensive it is. I don't charge anywhere near $1,000 a month, even though I'm worth it, but I understand that sounds like a lot of money, and even $500 a month is a lot of money, or $700 a month is a lot of money. That's a lot of money out of somebody's paycheck, and if they have 2 children, it's just multiplied exponentially. That's why most people with more than 2 kids stay home. One of the parents does, and they save that money. So, it didn't upset me that they thought that was a lot of money, and it didn't upset me that she was complaining that there's not enough care, because there's not. There's a real crisis in our state. But it was very upsetting to me that she said there was no value in play. The mother immediately piped back and said, my child is an only child, and that time that she gets with other kids is really valuable. Play is important for her, which I thought was stunning, because this was a young mother. I was surprised by her reaction. And several people in the group, are my friends and acquaintances, and they were like, wait, like, we have a quality child care person right here, because the woman went on to go on about how terrible child care is. And everyone defended me, and it was kind, and I appreciated it, but I was still brokenhearted about her comment about play. People just do not understand the value of it. So communicating about it, building these relationships, telling parents what kids are getting out of that, and what kids are getting from you, and what kids are getting, period. Just communicate. And people feel comforted, and they feel loved, and they know that you're being open. And if something bad happens, be open. You don't, somebody gets bit, you say, a child bit your child. This is what happened before. She snatched a toy away, the kid was mad, and they just chomped down on her before I could get there. I was right here. I almost, or say somebody falls on the playground. I didn't see it. Tell the truth. It's just, people want to hear the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. If a child is causing you problems, communicate, communicate, communicate. Because if it comes to the point where you're not able to continue caring for them for some reason, they need to have known ahead of time what was going on. And I understand that some people are really hard to communicate with, because I had a family like that. I ended up having to kick out the child because the parents were so disrespectful. But every time I tried to bring up the problem, mom blamed dad, dad blamed mom, or they made excuses for him. And that's not going to serve him in his life. And I kept him for almost 2 years, and I would have never given up on him. His behavior was so improved from when he came. He was biting when he came, choking, pushing, kicking, slapping, chewing up all the toys, just all these behaviors, tearing up my house. He was still pushing, and once in a while kicking, but I had broken him from biting, choking. He was still chewing, but I had him appropriate chew toys. I had done all these research and taken a bunch of classes and really educated myself about what his problem could have been. I discussed it with the parents. They told me they were on board with it. The grandmother came and told me I was stupid. She was an occupational therapist. Multiple times she told me I was stupid. This is what I do, she would say to me. And I'd just be like, But, I'm spending 10 hours a day, 5 days a week with this child, and this is what's working. So, eventually when it all fell apart, they told me that I was stupid, that none of my ideas were any good, and nothing that I did was helping him, and that his problems were because I had reprobate children in my care, and they were teaching him bad things, and that's why he became mean. But he came here, kicked out from another daycare, so, yeah. Anyway, once they were being really what I felt like was way too aggressive against my other children that they felt were the problem, I was uncomfortable with them interacting with those kids. So I told them that they better not come back with him, because I didn't want them in my home or around my kids. And it broke my heart, because I would have never given up on that boy. I did not communicate with them enough, because it was at a time in my life where I had something going on that was insurmountable for me, which they did not support or appreciate at any time. And other parents gave me grace and understanding about that. But, that's neither here nor there. I did finally come to the conclusion at the end not to speak with them separately because of their blaming. So I said it has to be a group text or a meeting. I was planning to have a meeting with them about some better steps we could take. I wanted to get some help from an occupational therapist that wasn't grandma, and find a way to help him further and get some outside help. So I group text them, and it all blew up on the text before I could talk about the meeting. And, they still hate me to this day and turned me into DHS. But the pro to that was, after the heated argument and them telling me how dare I take classes without their permission, which, hello, they're not my boss, and all these different things on the group text, and bashing me back and forth, telling me I was lying if I didn't have video of it. Like, if somebody's shoving somebody off of a chair, I'm not going to take video. I'm going to comfort the child that's hurt. But anyway, how are you going to get that retroactively? I don't know. People just, wounded dogs bite. They were upset. So anyway, I was trying to get the communication going, but they couldn't handle that, so it all blew up. And that, they shouldn't have been in the care to begin with. It wasn't a good fit if they weren't going to be communicators. But at that time in my life, that's the best I could do. And I did my best, so I just try to go on. I've had 111 children. 110 of them are either happy here or have left happy. it's probably me. So anyway, making each person feel valued. If a mom's having a hard day, just like, hey, you're doing a good job. It's really hard to be a mom, handling all the things, working, taking care of the daycare stuff, taking care of the house, taking care of the meals. Like, it's hard work to be a mother, and you're doing a great job. Communicating about everything. And that's how you really build lasting relationships with parents that give you good reviews, that appreciate the work that you do more, because they know more of what goes in it when you talk about it more. So it's all just about open communication. Relationships build child cares, and the relationships with the children are just as important, or even more so, but you're not going to get kids if you don't have relationships with parents. I just see each person as kind of like an extended member of my family. I want to support everybody in what they need. To a point, I have to have boundaries. Like, I had to shorten my hours because I'm in my 50s now and I have menopause and I'm tired all the time and it's hard. So people had to understand, like, I could quit and do something easier, or I can make this a little bit more manageable. And like, I thought about taking off every Friday, taking off half a day on Fridays, and I pulled the parents and we all landed on closing at 4:30 instead of 5, which made a huge difference for me. I struggle in the afternoons. I am a morning person. I wake up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock every day. I'm happy at that time. I'm doing this video now at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Probably getting closer to 7 now. It might be 6:30. I'm just better. And so I don't mind opening early, but I hate staying open late. And I always did like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then I rolled it back to 5:30. When I rolled it back from 5:30 to 5, it was life-changing for me. So I knew if I rolled it back to 4:30, 10 years later, that it would help me a lot, and it has. My friend takes Fridays off. She works Monday through Thursday, and that has been life-changing for her. You can't always be everything to everyone, but if you're honest and communicate with them, like, I'm tired. Like, my body's just tired. I'm still have all the inspiration I ever had and all the love I ever had for this job, but my body is tired. I'm older. I'm not 24 now. I'm 54, and that is a different thing. It's harder to lift up toddlers when you're 54. It's harder to work long days. I've been working 50-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks for 30 years. I'm tired, and so I still want to do what I love, but I have to do it in a way that works for me. And when I communicated that, everybody understood it. And then people who come in, they may not have had that experience, but if you say your hours are till 4:30 and they're like, well, I can't get off then, okay, then that's not the fit for you. And that's okay. There's going to be people that want it and that make it work. I have somebody right now that's getting ready to interview for a spot because school's about to start and I'm losing kids to school. And they're like, well, I really want this, so let me try to find it out. And then they came back and said, talk to my parents. They're going to take turns picking up on the days that we work late. Great. That's working it out for them. And I know that's harder for them than me accommodating everybody, but for 20 years I accommodated everybody. You need me to open early? Sure. You need me to stay open late? Sure. You need me to keep kids till they're 12? Sure. You need me to keep infants? Sure. And then little by little I whittled it down to where it's more fun for me. I love babies, but I don't love them 10 hours a day because I want to play outside in this garden and run and plant and harvest and chase bugs. And that's hard to do with an infant because they're hungry and they pooped and they did this and they did that, and it interrupts our experience. And so, years ago, probably, let's see, my last baby is a teenager, so I'd say maybe 13-ish, 12 years ago, I said, that's enough. Now I'm taking kids 2 and up. And then a couple of years later, I decided to stop with school-age kids because they're so much bigger, and you have to have so much more stuff. Like my swing set's too small for them, and my, all the things that keep us happy day in and day out around the year is not enough for school-age kids. And so I decided I wanted to do one or the other, and I chose 2 to 4. And it's been great for me. I've done that for, gosh, it wasn't long after I did the infant, so probably 10 years. And I have loved every minute of it. It made my days so much more fun to just have this focus, have less stuff in the house. My house is really small. It's like a little tiny 1,100 square foot home. And I don't have a whole lot of room to store like everything on earth, And so it's been great for me to whittle it down to a smaller age group. So you just have to work on what works for you and communicate with those parents. And you'll be full. You'll always be full. I'm always full. And it's because people feel the love and they feel my honesty, and I'm open about my shortcomings. And I'm open about my strengths. Like, I am happy to tell people what I'm great at too. So anyway, it's so beautiful out here with the sun coming up. I think I'm going to take you around the garden for a minute to get a little scan of that before I sign off. This is our garden that the kids, they plant all of this, and they harvest most of it. I do harvest on the weekends or whatever. They pick some weeds, but not many. That's mostly mine and my husband's job. This is in my backyard, and then we have an expansion over here that the person that owns this empty pasture allows us to grow all of that. And we had started out with like 54 raised beds, but now we have 35-ish left, and it is the joy of our time. So you guys go out there and have a great day with your kids and pursue your passions, because I'm really rooting for you.